They just did a half-hour legal comedy starring She-Hulk. That's completely new. There's nothing like that in the MCU before.
It had twerking. I love twerking.
Welcome to Super Debatable. I'm Joshua Yale.
I'm Akeem Lawanson.
And the ideological frontline on which we're doing battle today, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's been 4 years since Endgame and Far From Home brought the Infinity Saga to a close, and the ups and downs of the multiverse saga through Phase 4 and 5 have a lot of fans thinking the best of the MCU is behind us. Akeem, I put the question to you. Has the MCU peaked?
Well, Joshua, I have to say, yes, it has. Now, the MCU's Phase 4 was ultimately a phase bore. Now, I never thought a day would ever come where I felt so tired during a Marvel movie, I found myself running to the concession stand to purchase a nondescript energy drink just to keep me awake for the rest of a Marvel movie. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania kicked off Phase 5 with a lackluster story involving the MCU's next big bad guy, Kang, going up against the next big small fry, Scott Lang. Now, that's a good thing, right? Not really, as it kind of diminished the mystique of the villain Kang. Now, even though it was a variant Kang, the impending approach of more Kangs ain't giving me that thing. You know, there's no real thing happening for Kang, so why bring him up into the quantum ring? I know that last sentence may have made absolutely no sense, as the entire Ant-Man movie did as well, and was delivered like a lullaby to put you asleep like the MCU's Phase 4. Now, why was Phase 4 such a phase snore? Feige fatigue. Now, if you find yourself unexcited about the prospects of a Marvel character receiving a series on Disney+, then you too suffer from Feige fatigue. And if you find yourself constructing a magnum opus of a film for the MCU only to leave and become the next Kevin Feige for a rival company, you too suffer from Feige fatigue. You might also be James Gunn, who surprisingly is not immune. Now, symptoms of Feige fatigue include a lack of excitement when it comes to seeing lower-level Avengers such as Doctor Strange and Ant-Man starring in their very own movies, disinterest or anger when you hear about the iconic storylines being adapted without their iconic heroes, like the Armor Wars movie is about to do by subbing Rhodey in for Tony Stark, because that guy is, I don't know, let me check my lifeline on my phone. Well, apparently he's dead. Now, the comic book blueprints are all there for the MCU, but due to Feige fatigue, is constantly ignored and altered in a way that just makes the MCU unappealing for the most passionate fans who want to see the classic arcs given some respect. Put some respect on their names. Now, extreme cases of Feige fatigue might lead to small screen stalling. Now, this is a condition where it kind of forces you to ask yourself whether shows like Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Moon Knight are must-see Marvel TV. The only payoff from Ms. Marvel was the reveal that, she's a mutant? The only payoff for She-Hulk was seeing Daredevil, the introduction of the Hulk's son, and a brief twerking scene for the culture.
Num 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 num, eat it up.
Now, is any of that enough to sit through the episodic tales of B-list heroes? No! That's small screen stalling at its finest, brought to you by Feige fatigue. Now, sure, there's larger plans for these characters, but I don't want to bore myself watching all this play out on any type of screen, big or small. Now, if you too suffer from Feige fatigue, I'm gonna prescribe one long break from Phase 5's movie/Disney Plus shows that seem less than exciting to you. Yes, you. Do not feel compelled to watch every single movie and TV show in the MCU. Don't. And maybe just periodically, pop in when there's something actually worth watching, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the best movie that has the most impact in the MCU since ever, all right? At least for me, I think it was the most impactful movie in Phase 5 so far. And with Gunn gone, there's no way to top it. Now, he got out of the MCU and onto greener pastures. Now, Kevin Feige should take note of what James Gunn has planned for the DCU. Maybe adapt something similar to DC Elseworlds, which allows for stories to be told outside of the mainline DCU stories in Chapter 1. And you actually can with the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, that's one way to bring back Iron Man, and you can even, tie it all into the Secret Wars. Come on, Feige. Think, my man. Pick up a comic book and read the source material. You might learn something and actually start delivering something fans want to see. Take sip.
Wow, okay, those were a lot of points there, and I'll address those in a second, but first I want to say my piece, which is I think the MCU is actually just getting started. And here's the thing, the Infinity Saga was essentially the Avengers saga, and comic book fans know there's far more to the Marvel Universe than just the Avengers. The MCU's best days have yet to come, because they're building out a more authentic Marvel Universe that better reflects the depth and diversity of the comics. The MCU is literally a more diverse place right now, with more women, people of color, and queer people finally getting the spotlight. And it's better for it. With Disney's acquisition of Fox, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are finally joining the MCU, so we're also getting a wider array of stories that touch more on discrimination and weird science. Not to mention, these franchises have some of the most iconic heroes and villains, from Wolverine and Magneto to Silver Surfer and Galactus. The list goes on. Ultimately, this means Marvel doesn't have to keep scraping the bottom of the barrel for C-list characters. We're eating steak again, baby. Not only that, the MCU is still building out different corners of its world. There's street-level stuff with Daredevil, Hawkeye, and Echo. There's cosmic stuff with Guardians, Secret Invasion, and the Marvels. They're exploring the spooky corner of the MCU with Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, and Blade. They've got their super spy stuff with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, and Thunderbolts. And there's even time for half-hour legal comedies with She-Hulk. There's something for everybody.
Num 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 num, eat it up.
And all of this is going to lead to what has to be the biggest superhero crossover of all time in Secret Wars, which is going to be the big payoff to the multiverse saga. You know the feeling you got when you saw every MCU hero team up in Endgame? Well, in Secret Wars, get ready to feel that times 10. You know somewhere in a top secret Disney computer lab, they're rendering the final battle of Secret Wars where Dr. Doom has the power of the Beyonder, and teaming up to beat him is the Fantastic Four, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Daredevil and the Defenders, Black Panther and the Dora, 3 different Spider-Mans, Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Rocket and the New Guardians, Thor and the New Avengers, the Young Avengers, and probably Howard the Duck.
No more Mr. Nice Duck.
And with that on the horizon, I cannot wait for what comes next in the MCU.
Wow.
What do you have to say to that, Akeem?
Well, I mean, you said a lot of names there. All exciting Marvel characters for sure. There was one thing that you said, I want to go back to it. You said, so the MCU moving forward is going to be more authentic, more reflective of the world that we live in. Mm-hmm. Is that not what it has been?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't say that it would be a reflection of the world we live in. I said it would be a better reflection of the comic books, which tell lots of different stories.
I feel like you said that it's also representative of the people that we have in our society.
Right, it's a more diverse array, certainly than Phase 1, which is a bunch of white dudes, but now everyone, of all sorts of people of different races, genders, sexualities are all getting the spotlight like they hadn't before.
And I love that, of course, obviously. But I'm looking at more so of the same formula that we've been getting time and time again. It's very formulaic.
So you're saying it's become a formula that they're building to something? Actually, they didn't do that at all in Phase 4, so I don't know what you're talking about.
We've had characters team up with each other. I'm not talking about like the Endgame or the Infinity War where they're all building up to fight this one villain. Because that's going to happen with Kang. We already know that.
Right.
It's characters teaming up with each other in the same movie. We've been seeing that for years now. One of the things that I think is really interesting that James Gunn is going to be doing in his tenure over at DCU is the fact that he's doing the DC Elseworlds, which is going to be stories that are told outside of the mainline DCU. And the thing is, we have the opportunity to do that with the Ultimate Marvel Universe. We have like these, we can tell one-off stories. We can talk about Ultimate Iron Man, which has absolutely, we can have an Ultimate Iron Man movie, just find a good story for that character. So we can have an Iron Man that exists outside of the mainline MCU.
I think that's called Marvel's What If. Yeah, where you had like Star-Lord,
That's
T'Challa.
a cartoon!
Star-Lord, T'Challa, Party Thor. And then in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness, we got a glimpse, into like Captain Carter, right? And
Fair enough.
So
yes.
yeah, so what you want, go check it out on Disney Plus.
In animation form. I want to see that in movie form. I want to put butts in seats in theaters. I want to see a new Iron Man. I want to see who Hollywood casts as the new Tony Stark. I want to see who Hollywood casts as the new Captain America.
Akeem, what is in that mug that you're drinking from? What are you on about?
It's the energy drink that I was talking about.
The nondescript energy drink?
Yes.
The question was, has the MCU peaked? Why are you obsessed?
And it has.
Why are you obsessed with just telling one-off stories that have nothing to do
because they're
with
doing
the
nothing
interconnected
new.
Marvel Cinematic
They're doing
Universe?
nothing unique.
They just did a half-hour legal comedy starring She-Hulk. That's completely new. There's nothing like that in the MCU before.
It had twerking. I love twerking.
Yeah, that's new.
I don't want that in my MCU.
Never happened before.
That's true.
The Marvel Universe, you said it before, it reflects the world outside our universe.
But the thing is, that made me excited for a different reason, okay?
Eat it up.
The MCU has indeed peaked, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't still enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. No, I mean,
Thank you so much.
I'm saying there's still,
you agree.
I'm saying there's still a lot to enjoy. Yeah.
But it has peaked.
I don't know.
Reached its
I wouldn't
peak.
say it's peaked
It's
because
reached its prime. The prime is over. We all cried at Endgame, cried at Infinity War. Ain't no crying going on no more. We're just watching. Unless we're talking about that James Gunn, movie with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah, I cried.
Cool. Well, actually, thank you for making my point for me, because Guardians was great, Guardians 3, and
Absolutely,
I think that is a great showcase of how the Marvel Cinematic Universe still has a lot going.
But where's James Gunn now? Where is he?
He went over to
now?
DC.
Thank you. You lost the man who was able to see these characters and pull that emotion out of you. There was even a quote. James Gunn gave a quote about superhero fatigue. He believes that is a thing that exists, and he says it has to do with the kind of stories that get to be told, and if you lose your eye on the ball, which is character. And I honestly feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe has lost its eye on the ball, and they're losing very good directors like James Gunn.
Well, yeah, but he's moving on to just
bigger and better things.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, bigger and better things. He's going to put more soul and heart into the stories that he's going to be telling, and other people that he reviews their content are going to be telling within the DCU.
Well, Marvel still has a ton of great characters.
They have characters. Characters. You're talking about characters. I'm talking about like directors, people to kind of to steer these stories in the direction where it's like you have those emotional heartstrings are being pulled, where you feel something when you're in the theater. I'm not a heartless person, but I felt nothing in Quantumania. Absolutely nothing was felt.
Well, I thought it had a really sweet, father-daughter story.
Oh yeah, that's so sweet. Yeah, that's you can't make money with sweetness.
But hey, we got 38 chances to prove all them folks wrong, though, right?
We could argue about this all day,
and we will.
But before we go, let's hear what are your closing statements? What are your final thoughts?
Well, you know what? It's kind of similar to what I said off top. I don't think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is something that you should depend on ever. Don't depend on them. Just watch it for what it is. It's just a superhero movie. It's just characters hitting each other in the face, sometimes kicking each other in the butt, and sometimes twerking said butt.
Eat it up.
Don't feel compelled to watch every single piece of content that is produced by Disney.
Yeah, sure. You don't have to watch everything. That's sort of the beauty of the MCU right now, is that there's so much of it. Because of the added TV shows and increased output of movies, there's more MCU to go around, and they're able to tell all these different kinds of stories. And yes, they are building out, and it hasn't all come to like a fun team up yet, but I do think that eventually it all is going to pay off. We are going to get those emotional moments once we get to know these characters and see them on their journeys and see how they pick up the legacy of the heroes of the Infinity Saga. And so I think there's a lot to be excited about, and in no way has the MCU peaked.
There's a button under the handle. Press that in.
Okay. Now what?
Open the door.
Well, we started this super debate. Now it's up to you to finish it. Sound off in the comments and let us know whether or not you think the best of the MCU is behind us. That's all for this episode of Super Debatable. We'll see you next time.